just got back from the long walk, and I really liked it. I really did like it. I love the book, though. I'm a huge fan of the book. It's one of my favorite books. And I think, unfortunately for me, because of how much I love the book, it kind of negatively impacted my viewing of the movie. Mainly because I thought there were some changes that were okay. There were changes I didn't mind, some changes that I thought were, made sense. But then there were some changes that I did not like, and one glaring one, and revolving one particular character. And I, if you've seen the movie and you know the book, you probably think you know what I'm about to say, but it's actually in regards to Stebbins, who's my favorite character in the book. And I think what they did was really took away from a really interesting character. I want to say a couple things up front, though. Like some good things that I liked. I loved McVrees. I loved the dynamic of all the boys. I thought Cooper Hoffman was great. Mark Hamill's great. The beginning of the movie, right before the walk starts, right when Mark Hamill shoots the gun and they start walking, the anxiety I felt was crazy. But actually, you know what I want to give a really good praise for. So the book and the movie do the same type of thing where, the audience probably has read a synopsis of the book. They've probably seen a trailer of the movie. So they know what's going on. They know that if these kids stop walking, they're getting shot in the fucking head. But what both the book and the movie do is kind of keep that hidden, which I really like, because the impact of Curly's death, who dies both in both, is very very, very real. I feel so good. But in the movie, in particular, watching his head explode and then hit me with that fucking title. Ooh, one of the fucking dirtiest title drops I've ever seen in a movie. Maybe my favorite fucking title drop in any movie ever. So good. Kid's dead. Boom. The Long Walk. We know what we're in for. We're in. We love it. So I was very happy with that. Check my notes here. Insults. I'm a huge insult fan. A well-crafted insult is an art form. There's such beauty to insults. And McVrees, and to an extent Garrity, and all the boys, Olsen too, they're all hurling insults at each other, and it's just chef's kiss. It's a work of art. It's beautiful, and I loved every minute of that. And also there was the hill scene, if you've seen the movie. Them walking up the hill, and it's really tense, and it's everyone's tired, and it's the first night. That doesn't happen in the book, but it is such a great scene, and I was very happy to see that was included, or not included, but I was oh, that's a great change, because that doesn't happen in the book. But all right, let's get to the nitty gritty. The problem, biggest problem is, I should say. Oh, I've said I love this book. I wept reading this book. The end of this book is heart-wrenching. It's unbelievable, in my opinion. One reader's humble opinion. But I didn't get that with the movie, and I think a big part of it is that I listened to the book as I went on my walk every day. So to me, dude, I walked with these guys. Those were my boys. I was on this goddamn walk with them. So when they were dying at the end, I was like, that's fucking Art Baker, dude. That's my guy. That's my guy. Just walk a little farther with me, Art. I'm tired, Garrity. Fuck. So I didn't think the movie, because of how much faster a movie goes than a book, obviously, that you lose a little of that. But I would say specifically, the biggest thing is Stebbins. My biggest problem is Stebbins. I think Stebbins is the most interesting character in the book. If you have not read the book and you've seen the movie, or vice versa, or whatever, I don't know. Stebbins is an unrelenting force in the book. Stebbins doesn't really get much play in the book until maybe halfway through, and then all of a sudden he becomes more of a character, but he's always there. He's always he's the goddamn Terminator. He shows no exhaustion. He shows no tiredness. He never seems weak at all. And because of that, he is he's a terror. They're all scared of him. They're all constantly Stebbins is gonna win, and Stebbins is constantly saying I'm not. He's not even arrogant about it. He's just it's a fact. I'm gonna win. I'm the best at this. And I think they really and that's even though Barkovich is also kind of an antagonist, Stebbins is the main antagonist, or like he's kind of a driving force. He's like a force of nature, sort of, in the book, which is not portrayed in this movie in the slightest. And I'm gonna say mainly because, a character called Scram that's in the book is not in the movie at all. And the two most important factors about Scram is, in the book, he is married, and he's the favorite to win the race, but he gets a cold, or the flu, and that takes him out of the race, basically. They split those two elements. They took Scram out of the movie, and they split those two elements and gave them to Olsen, where they made him married, which I thought was a dumb change, because Olsen was the most unlikely one to have been married, in my opinion. And then they gave... Yeah, this dude's married. He's saying his wish is going to be 10 naked ladies. Doesn't make any sense. Then they gave the cold to Stebbins, the flu to Stebbins. And that is where it really is undercut the character of Stebbins for me, because never in the movie do you see Stebbins as this force of nature, because he's sick the whole time. So you're like, kind of like, well, he's not going to win. He's sick. And then the big reveal in the book for Stebbins is that Stebbins is the Major's son, and he's basically been picked by the Major and put into the race because the Major knows that he's so good at the race that he will actively bring up the rest of the contestants. In Stebbins' own words, he is the rabbit that dogs chase in the dog tracks. They'll never catch the rabbit, but the rabbit makes the dogs run faster, which is a great analogy. And in the book, it works to a T. It's beautiful. But because Stebbins is this unrelenting force. But in the movie, when Stebbins reveals this, and it's just, I think it falls so flat, because it's like, he's not once been shown to be like this Terminator, this like terrifying contestant in the long walk that no one thinks they can beat. It's like, he's never even like, the character's never like, except for the very beginning when they like see how like physically fit he is, they never like comment on the fact that he might be the winner, which I think is like a big huge misstep in my opinion. And it's like personally one of my favorite parts of the book. So like I'm gonna be negative about it, obviously, but for the most part, I really did like the movie. But and then another thing, huge spoilers on this one, is they changed the ending. Obviously, I think, in my personal opinion, what made me cry or maybe weep when I read the book was going into the end. The last contestants are Garrity, McFreeze, Art Baker, and Stebbins. Art Baker goes first, then McFreeze goes, then Stebbins goes, and Garrity wins. In the movie, Art Baker goes, then Stebbins goes, and then McFreeze and Garrity are left, and Garrity dies, and McFreeze wins. And I thought I kind of get what they're going for with that change, but I think it takes away so much from the, like, why McFreeze's death is so sad in the book and it's like so impactful is because he is sort of the most deserving, and he's a good guy. And I mean, they changed his backstory in the movie and made him like kind of like less of a sketchy character, because he kind of like he's a weird girlfriend's backstory with this scar that they kind of changed. But either way, I got on a tangent there. What I cry about is when Art Baker dies, I cry in the book. When McFreeze dies, I weep. And I even get sad at Stebbins' death. Didn't care about Stebbins' death. Got a little sad at Art Baker's death. I did cry at McFreeze's death. Oh, and I see, and that's why they tricked me a little bit, because McFreeze doesn't die, but I cried because I was like, oh, this is the part in the book where he dies, and then that didn't happen. But in the book, what made me cry is just like, Garrity is like with Art Baker, and he's like, let's go, and he just looks at him and he's like, just walk with me a little longer, and that rips my heart out, that line. And he says that to McFreeze in this, which I did like they kept it in, but that rips my heart out, that line. And then Art Baker's just like, no, I'm done, and then he just sits, he gets killed. And then McFreeze, what makes me cry is when McFreeze just turns to Garrity and he goes, it's time to sit down, Garrity. Which fucking, oh my god, I love that line. which doesn't exist in the movie because he lives, but which I kind of think is silly because at the beginning of the movie, McVree's like in the book, he goes, "When it's time for me to die, I'm gonna sit down," and then he does, but then Garrity helps him up and he gets killed. But so that's the big change, and then the other big change is that McVree's kills the Major with his last wish there, which is fine. I don't mind that. That doesn't matter. That doesn't bug me. But I think it does lose the beauty of the real ending of the book where Garrity, it's ambiguous if Garrity lives or dies at the end because he's just like so beaten down by the walk, and then it's like he sees a figure that's like, "Come on, Garrity, there's so much more long walk to walk," or whatever, and it like ends with like, and Garrity somehow found the strength to run as he runs off towards this figure that might be death or it's an illusion or whatever. And I think that's such a beautiful last line for the book. He somehow finds the strength to run. But yeah, I mean, this video has basically just been like, what changes were made from the book that upset me, which is whatever. But that's pretty much it. Other than that, I thought it was pretty great adaptation. It was very good. I mean, there's nitpicky things and like kind of bigger things that I do think hurts it a little bit, but overall, it's very solid Stephen King adaptation. I will say, with the track record of those is not great. Something I didn't like that changed. Look at my notes here. They changed that everyone volunteers, and it's like in the book, it's like volunteering is how you get in the race, and it's actually volunteering. But in this, it's like everyone volunteers, and it's like, is it really volunteering if we all do it? It's kind of like seems like it's like sort of you're looked down upon if you don't volunteer, and it's like I kind of like the idea that it's really volunteering because again, it's I don't know if you know, I'm not gonna get into it, but Stephen King, he said it's the book is an allegory for the Vietnam War draft and kids going in to war gung-ho and happy, and then like they get beaten down as they watch their fucking friends die in front of them. But which I love. Viewing the Long Walk book through that lens is unbelievable. But I don't know. That's basically what I want to rant about was those changes. But at the end of the day, I thought it was a great adaptation, very good adaptation. I don't know if I said great, but very good. I thought the directing was fantastic. Oh, I wanted to talk about. I loved how I loved the gore. I loved that they didn't shy away from the gore, and this Francis Lawrence, who directed a lot of the Hunger Games movies, it just made me go like, yo, why let the Hunger Games be fucking rated R? This dude would fucking make a brutal Hunger Games movie if they fucking let those motherfuckers have an R rating on them. I would love that. And yeah, so like, I loved that they didn't shy away from the violence and showing it, and like it's upsetting. The violence is upsetting, as it should be, and that's the point. But that's about it. Definitely worth a watch. Definitely one of my favorite King adaptations, even with those problems. And those problems are big. My problems are big. But I also would say if you haven't read the book, you probably like the movie a lot more. And if you didn't even love the book, maybe you like the movie more. I love the book. One of my favorite books, actually. So definitely one of my favorite King books. So I'm a little bit more biased on that fact, obviously. But yeah, that's about it. I'm tired, Garrity. It's time to sit down.